Hello, Sacramento. My name is Dustin MacFarlane with California Probate and Trust, and I am happy to be here today. Thanks for tuning in. So, a lot of people ask this question, so let's dig right into it. Question number one, what is an estate plan? And I guess part of that, why is it important? A lot of people say, I don't have an estate, but yes, you do. An estate plan is a written set of instructions telling other people how to take care of you and your property if you get sick or if you pass away. And so even if you have no property, you still could get sick. You still have medical decisions to be made. You still have income coming in. If you have a house or investments or retirement accounts, all of those things add into your estate, and you need an estate plan. I need an estate plan so that when I get sick and I am unable to make decisions or manage my own affairs, I have appointed somebody else who can do that on my behalf, and I've given them a written set of instructions telling them what they can do and, more importantly, what they cannot do. So let me share an experience from my own background. When I was first married, we had the good insight. Somebody had actually given this to us. As a gift, we did a very simple estate plan, and it consisted nothing more than a will and a health care directive and a power of attorney. And not long after that, my wife and I were on a trip in San Francisco, and we went to this nice restaurant for dinner, and I got sick. I don't mean sick, I mean violently ill. And so we left the show early. We went back to the hotel. I thought I was going to be able to just lay down and shake it off. It didn't happen. My wife packed everything up and drove me straight home and drove me straight to Mercy San Juan Hospital. It was a horrible experience. I had some sort of food poisoning, and my resting pulse was 168. I was not doing good. But the worst part, I was crazy. I was saying not just gibberish, but like I could hear people and I knew what was going on, but I was not able to make a rational decision. And I kept screaming at the doctors, let me go, I'm out of here. I am leaving against medical advice. Get me out of here. And my wife, being the calm one, the rational one, the reasonable one, the one without food poisoning, she had an advance directive. And she told the doctors, look, he doesn't have capacity. I'm in charge. She's in charge. And I say he stays. And they strapped me to that bed and held me there for about 24 hours till the drugs they were pumping into me kind of stabilized me, got my heart rate down, got my chemicals in my brain right. I slept for 24 hours. And I stayed there another couple of days trying to get this completely behind me. But I couldn't make a decision literally to save my life. And my wife was able to step in and make decisions on my behalf because I couldn't do so. That is exactly what an estate plan is for, to make decisions about your health and about your assets when you can't do it. So what's included in an estate plan? So there's some basic legal documents that are included in almost every estate plan. So if your assets justify it, a trust. Sometimes people get revocable trusts, sometimes they get irrevocable trusts, but let's just say a trust. A trust holds those assets and sets up the rules for those specific assets. Then a will. It's true, every time you have a trust, you have to have a companion will, and so you have both of those. You have a durable power of attorney, an advance directive, a HIPAA authorization form, and a living will. Those are the essential documents that are in each estate plan. So when we're talking about the documents in an estate plan, you can't look at it just like a checklist. You can't just say, oh, check, I have a trust, check, I have a will. It really matters on how they're put together and what's in them or not in them. What do they say? And I'll tell you, not every estate plan is created equal. Some are really robust, they're thorough, and they cover every possible scenario you could imagine. And others are limited, they're just thin, basic. Now, you might think, Dustin, that's what I want. I want simple. I want basic. Please, let me tell you, you don't. Just recently, I met with a family who had an estate plan, And it was a big, fat document, like hundreds and hundreds of pages. And they said, Dustin, why does this have to be so complex? And I said, well, tell me what's going on in your life. And I'll answer that in just a minute. And they said, well, our parents died. And so my sister and I are the trustees of their trust. We're the executors of their estate. We have to distribute everything. I said, okay, go on. They said, but my sister died, and now I'm the only trustee. I said, okay, let's look at the documents. And I remember they had a trust that was hundreds of pages long. And when I opened it up, they also had an amendment that was 1 page. I don't like that. So I read it, and the amendment said that the parents chose brother and sister, or son and daughter, to be co-trustees at the same time. That I can understand. But then it said nothing as to what were to happen if one of the children died. And in fact, this sister had died. And it said, turn to the trust for further instructions. The trust doesn't have any instructions on what happens if one of the trustees died. It was silent to this. It didn't address this issue. And I said, here's the problem. You're going to go sell this house. A title company is going to look at this trust document, and they're going to say, oh, where's your sister? She died. And the document just says, if the trustees can't serve, then a court would appoint somebody. So I said, there's a good chance that you're going to have to go to court to have a judge name you the trustee, because your trust does not say what it's supposed to say. Having the right language in your trust is really, really important. And that's why we want trusts that are thorough and efficient and follow and make sure that we have a plan for anything that could go wrong. That's why you want a trust that's 2 inches thick and hundreds of pages. You want to make sure that your plan covers every possible scenario so your family doesn't wind up in court. So a lot of people want me to email them a checklist. Dustin, what do I need? So first, yes, there is a checklist. The checklist is pretty simple. And in really basic terms, you want a checklist that includes, you want to gather the names, addresses, and phone numbers of all of the people or organizations that are going to be involved. Whether it's your friends, your family, maybe some charities, anyone that's going to be involved, we need to have that information. We also need asset information. If it's real estate, we need a copy of the deed. If it's a bank account, we need a copy of the statement. If it's life insurance, we need a copy of the beneficiary form. We have to know who's involved and what assets we're dealing with. More important than the checklist, I want to sit down with you and have that conversation in person, because we learn a lot by talking to people and the nonverbal cues. So while most firms will email you something and say, fill this out and get it back to us, I make it a practice for us to sit down with you in person. I can't tell you how many times I've asked, tell me who your children are. And they'll say, John and Susie. But instead of saying John and Susie, they'll say John and Susie. And what does that mean? What does that Susie? Why the gasp? Why the sigh? Why roll the eyes? Why the body language, or by the body shift? It's because there's a problem there, and we have to address that. We can't. This isn't just a static, tell me who you are related to list. This is about your estate. Remember, we're deciding who's going to take care of you when you're sick, who's going to manage your money, your real estate, and your healthcare decisions, who is going to manage your affairs when you pass away, who will sell the property, divide the assets, pull the money from the bank accounts, give it to your family, pay the charities, whatever's required. And we can't have somebody when you're saying, Susie. That means that there's a concern and we need to address it. And maybe it's a small concern, but maybe it's a big concern. If I just give you the checklist, I don't know. I want to know what's going on. And that's why our checklist is always in person with you, asking questions. Call now to schedule your no-cost, no-obligation strategy session to learn more about what would be appropriate for you and your family.